So, Milind, we spoke before we came here, and we spoke about how the cyber resilience is more important in these days, right?
Okay.
So, like you are leading currently the operational technology and cyber security globally for UPL, but at the same time, earlier, everybody used to think that security is a problem of IT to fix, right? But now that manufacturing organizations are growing so much, we have smart factories coming in, we have AI coming in, we have a lot of sensors, a lot of operational dashboards. There are so much of connections happening all the time. And every time we add a new technology or add a new device, it actually increases the cybersecurity risk. So from that perspective, if we get into a reality, we also realize that the IT is changing so much, right? The IT in terms of the routers, in terms of the AI is happening. But at the same time, there are a lot of legacy OT applications and devices on the shop floor. So how do you think that we are going to manage that?
Uh, so it's a good question, Karishma. But let just, we need to understand that OT is a completely different landscape than the IT, first thing. So let me give you a common example. I've been there in this domain for last 18 years and, where a role within where I have worked as an OEM, I have worked as a service integrator and now as an end user. Whenever I walk into any of a plant and if I ask a plant head, that can you just tell me what are the connected devices or what are the connected assets in your plant? And then there is a pause from the plant. So that particular pause is your single risk of vulnerability. See, vulnerability is not a single flow. It's maybe in IT, the definition sits there, it's a weakness or a single flow within your design. But in OT, it's a structural one, correct? So in IT landscape, probably every 3 or 5 years down the line, we refresh each and every technology domain. After 18 months or 24 months, we change the hardware, we change the platform. But unlike in OT, where the DCS platform has the lifespan of 20 to 25 years, and we try to incorporate our IT technology to the OT world, which the plant engineer is not, used to handle this kind of technology. Because when the DCS was designed way back before 20 to 25 years, they did not consider that, this kind of ransomware also come to the OT world. So hence, we need to understand the basic narratives here, the basic problem, and then how to fix the problem. So first thing is that what I believe is we need to follow the 3 arc of principle: see, segment, and sustain. So you cannot protect if you can't see what are the devices at your plant, correct? So you begin with the very basic step, which is you discover your own plant asset inventory. There are n number of platforms which is available in the market. You can do without any disturbance of your current plant. Production line is going on, no need to trouble the production line. You can do this asset discovery on passively. Second thing, when you do the asset discovery, I bet most of the plants is having the flat architecture as on date. So you need to apply defensive depth. Maybe you can segmentize with these, safety villain is separate thing, shop floor is separate thing. The plant which handle the digital is a separate network. So you build the walls. If I need to put in simple language, you need to build the walls within the plant, and then last pass is the sustenance plan. Because if you cannot govern the process which you build on, at the end of the day, probably 6 months or 8 months down the line, your plant network will again go flat. So the basic part is that you see, segment, sustain. So 3 principles that we used to follow, and it helps you to grow the plant with much more maturity, and you can leverage the IT technology to the plant as well with these 3 steps.
So you spoke about asset management, right? So one is, I think, beyond the cyber attacks, organizations are right now also investing into getting the people ready, having the resilience programs in place, right? So how does a strong security posture in the shop floor will help me to develop my customer confidence and my brand reputation in the market?
See, since last few years, there's a change in fundamentals, and trust has become the part of your product, correct? So, if I'm an end user and I want to do some contract with my suppliers or something, the first thing I will check is the security posture of that supplier. I'm having some sort of, supplier assessment wherein I have put up a couple of questionnaires based on the security. If you fail the audit, you will lose the purchase order, which means that your security posture is become your revenue model nowadays, correct? So now coming back to the question, see every plant user, if you go to any plant and with the help of AI buzzword, you go to any shop floor, they say we need to use AI to outsmart our competitors. Fine, you want to use AI, you can use AI, correct? But with the increasing help of AI, you also need to understand that whether you use IoT, whether you use cloud, MES, digital twins, these are the platforms that many plants are using. But at the same time, they are also expanding their attack surface as well, which means that your vulnerability, your risk appetite is also increasing day by day with this kind of new platforms. So you need to balance your modernization with the security platform. If I ask my CFO that I need this much budget for the OT security part, and if I give a reason that it will prevent the OT incidents, what CFO will do? This is a hypothetical for them. This is not practical for them, correct? And he will ask me that, what is the return? If I give you X amount, what is the return? Correct. So the best way is that if you want to excel your modernization, do it with the security, integrated with the modernization, rather than having two different buckets of modernization and security posture. This will help you to excel your modernization with the security approach inbuilt with this particular platform.
You spoke about suppliers, then you also spoke about modernization. At the shop floor, we also have, lot of third-party suppliers working together. We have lot of manpower also working together. When we're talking about a resilience program, you rightly touched upon that we also have to take care of suppliers' devices and all. As an organization, how do I improve that? Ensuring that my resilience programs also covers my suppliers as well.
See, when you hire any new supplier, whether it is a new supplier or the existing supplier, you must, go through its couple of set of requirements as a regulatory requirements. First thing, maybe if you fall for India, we don't have the structure one, but if you consider the Europe requirement, they have a NIS2 framework, which is core OT platform. And right now in India, we follow ISO 27001, we follow ISO 62443, and some of the NIST framework as well as a part of the supplier checklist. But the one thing is that, you also need to ensure that whatever products that your supplying you as a supply chain contract, the devices itself is right now, compliance with ISO 62443 4-1 and 4-2 requirement, which is specific for the supplier's point of view, correct? Second, you need to make sure that, if your suppliers carry some sort of USB drive or some sort of, laptop which requires to plug in your OT network, the same thing need to be sanitized before using your own network. Third thing is that when you have, you do the program in terms of cyber awareness or OT tabletop exercise, you need to also include your third-party vendors because they are the one who is working on the ground. Maybe, if any incident happen, they are the one who first notices it rather than your, maybe your payroll employee who is participating in OT tabletop. But, when the actual incident occurred, they are not able to deliver what is being told to them because it was not structurally follow in their day-to-day life. So the best thing is that you follow a structural view in terms of supplier assessment, you follow the regulatory requirement, and also on a time-to-time basis, you can do the internal assessment as well from your team or you with in the mind that whatever systems or whatever in also the supplier system or my system or maybe the people point of view, you need to educate them in so that they can treat this as the topmost priority rather than as a normal operation requirement.
Understood. We also talk about investment in manufacturing and securing our shop floors, right? So when a manufacturing leader is making a decision that whether they want to invest in cybersecurity or they should invest in automation, modernization, right? Productivity improvement initiatives. So but at the same time, we also know that the cyber threats are increasing. They are becoming more and more sophisticated. So how should manufacturer leaders balance between production modernization and the cyber security resilience programs?
See, this is a classic case because, normally the budget of the OT or this kind of plant security comes under the CISO bracket, correct? And there are many CISOs around the globe that, they understand IT very well, but they have very handful experience in OT. So the perception of OT for the shop floor manager or maybe the site lead has completely different than what the CISO is having, correct? And for CISO, they can allocated maybe 10% or 20% of the total budget to OT, where if you are the manufacturing firm and OT is your bread and butter, correct? So you need to secure your main core business because it's your revenue center, correct? You can generate revenue from your main basic system. So like I mentioned, you need to integrate your security posture or your security budget within the instrument budget or within the plant budget itself. See, because right now, earlier the days where, if you go to the market and you procure some DCS machines or some PLCs, they will give you standalone PLCs, standalone DCS, and then on top of that, you build your, EDR platform, your firewall, and, some software to safeguard your DCS systems. But nowadays, there are many OEMs who, they will give you the DCS with integrated security approach itself. So they have the inbuilt module of the EDR version, plus they have some behavior anomaly detection platform within the same system, so that you cannot, so that you don't need to purchase the additional amount as well. Now, this is the significant change because this will help you to understand that, the new OT component also coming with secure by design concept. So that, when I plug in the DCS system and then I will forget within the next 20 years, I'm running with the same DCS system. So in that case, if I have this security design principle during the time of my procurement, this will help me to safeguard security to some extent. Obviously, on top of that, I can build many other concept of OT like threat detection platform or integrate the same with my OT SOC and all. That's a different thing. But at least for some part of the emerging attack, I can withstand with some of the basic control that embedded with my native OT applications. So the approach will be like I mentioned, you can integrate the security within the modernization itself, and you can fund for secure modernization rather than asking for separate budget of OT security. This will help CISO as well as the plant shop so that they can identify what is my priority. CISO say my priority would be this securing plant, and this shop owner say my priority will be running the plants flawlessly. So you need to come to the middle point where where the need of both the people can satisfy. And the best part is that you can take security within the instrumental or within the modernization part. That's the best part in my experience.
So I think it makes a lot of sense, like making security a part of your modernization. But let's also, be practical with ensuring our assets are managed, assets are protected, ensuring our supplier base is covered, our shop floors are covered. We make security as a part of our, design, security by design as a part of our modernizations. But also let's be practical that no organization is completely immune, right? So when a cyber incident impacts a critical operations, right? What does the effective process look like as per you?
See, rightly you mentioned, no organization is completely immune, particularly for OT. See, basically what happened, if I give you the example, out of 10 big companies, if you ask any of them that, if some incident happened to your plant as on today, do you have the playbooks, what needs to do? They say, yes, we have playbooks, but they will follow the same playbooks which they have for IT, correct? Plus, the people who is taking care of the defensive security, which maybe the cyber defense team, they are also from the IT. Maybe they hire a vendor or they have the in-house team, but their core skill set is for IT. They are not related to OT. So if something happened in OT, they will treat this particular incident with the mindset of IT. Okay, first thing. So in IT, the basic principle is that if something goes wrong, you can contain it, and at the same time, you can isolate that particular devices. But if something happened in OT, my first priority would be, is anyone getting injured? Is everyone is safe? Is my process enter into safe state before we terminate the process? So my entire priority for OT is completely different than the IT part, correct? So if in the event of the such incident, the readiness should be such that we should develop a completely different playbooks for OT. We should not leverage, see, we can use the templates or we can take some of the references from IT, which is fine. But while you're designing the playbooks, you need to keep the OT scenario in mind. First thing, you need to understand the severity and impact in OT. Second thing is that, you cannot terminate the process or you cannot trip the plant directly with the switch off because it will, create some chaos and all. So first you map the severity with the devices. Second is, you need to understand if this plant is down and if this production is hampered, what is the other production line that I'm going to start with? Many times what happened, even in IT, we take the backups, but we never tested the backups. And during the time of incident, when we try to run with the older backup, we find that, oh, this backup is not running, and now we need to start with the scratch, correct? So in OT, there are also many platforms which helps you to schedule the automatic backup and which helps you to retrieve the data from the backup. So the best part is that you do this frequently, probably quarter or maybe the half yearly, or maybe, many companies do once in a year also, but you need to test it out backup. The point is that. And the third part is that, probably what we used to do is that, every half yearly basis, you need to gather top leaders from the OT, from your plant, who is managing your plant, who is responsible for the plant operation. You do the tabletop exercise with them. So normally what happens in IT, if you do tabletop, they will have, some malware attack, some virus attack, some data breach happen. What will you do? This is a IT tabletop. Whereas in OT, normally we used to do simulation-based exercise. If this PLC is tripped, if this safety system is get tripped, what is your next course of action? Who will communicate to whom? What is your plan? So this kind of simulation, if you carry, then even if the incident strikes at morning 3, you have the people in your mind. They have the muscle memory, so that they recall. Okay, I have done steps A, B, C, D, E during my tabletop, and this is what I needs to do. Same thing, this will help you to handle the incident better, because in OT also, if incident strikes, maybe your data can be retrieved within few weeks or few days, but if some lives are at stake, then it's a very big issue. Plus there is a brand image as well. So maybe you can retrieve your data, but once you lost the brand, the trust to gain back from the customer will take some sort of time.
Understood. So, like in IT, we have DR drills. Yes. We need to have resilience drills in the shop floor too. But what, according to you, separates organization from an average organization, from an organization who recovers quickly, if in case there's an attack?
See, I think it depends upon the organization to organization, how their risk appetite is. For some companies, they believe that if my process went down, I can wait for 24 hours or 48 hours to replace my whole system, and then I can begin my system. And whereas, there are some companies like pharma or maybe, the power system and all, or, they require an immediate based solution like RTO for 2 hours or 4 hours down the line. So, like I mentioned, they need to understand the process first. They need to identify which core area they need to consider as the BCP part. Obviously, you cannot consider all the activities as a part of a BCP, because if you do that, then you will not able to prioritize your activity during the time of BCP. So I can accept that out of 10 processes, my 3 processes are business centric or core process for me. I will only do the BCP for these core processes. And out of these 3 processes, this is my top priority, for which I need a RT of 2 hours. So whatever backup platform I'm choosing in, whatever backup platform I'm designing in, I will keep in mind that I can accept the risk for two hours, and then I can start with this. Secondary, there are, since last few years also, there is an increasing amount of cyber insurance coming, correct? Earlier, mostly BFSI or, some IT company used to get it, but now, of late, we see many manufacturing firms are getting affected with ransomware protection and all, correct? So at that point of time, even if you have a backup which is immutable, but at some point of time, if you have additional coverage with the cyber insurance, that will help you to, get some of the business confidence as well.
I think insurance topic you have covered. I think many people do take that, right? So it's important that we look into it. Now, if we look ahead, right? If we look at let's say a time horizon of 3 to 5 years, manufacturing is likely to become much more connected, much more data driven. So, and also the risks are also going to increase, right? So as a manufacturing organization, how do I prepare myself better to face that scenario? And what, according to you, are 3 priorities that the manufacturing leaders have to think about?
So I'm going to give you the answer very 2 way. First way, we will, everybody give you the same answer. Second, nobody will give you. So first thing is that, AI is coming, very rapidly. Everyone is talking AI, whether you are the customer, whether you are a vendor, or whether you are a regulator. The mythos are coming, these are coming, this AI new way. So AI is going to be there. And AI is coming in both the sides, not only plant side, but the attacker who is also using AI to make attack faster and cheaper as well at the same time. And at the same time also, you want to use AI in your plant to boost your production, to stay in the competition with our competitors, correct? So you need to use AI very wisely, but at the same time, you cannot avoid the AI as well. So AI would be the first priority. Second priority is your supply chain risk. So you have the suppliers, you vetted all their systems and all, but many a case in the last few years also, we have seen that their firmware, their production system, or their projects, the project files data that have been stolen, your customer data has been breached by the ransomware group. So this is the second part, and the third part would be in terms of resilience part, because many companies are small to medium size, they cannot afford this solution of OT, which are very costly. So they need to understand that, we need to prioritize our work and to do that. But most importantly, next 3 to 5 years, the one thing that, I personally believe that, many companies nowadays, small size or big size, they are willing to buy new tools, new platforms, correct? And they believe that if I buy X tool, this will help me to, boost my regulatory score, and it cover my attack surface, and now I'm secure. But the reality is that that particular tool will be phased out like 12 to 15 months. So maybe it will take some time to mature, like 6 months it will take to mature the tool. And after 3 months, after 3 years, 4 years, the tool will be phased out. But the company is not able to find the right amount of resources in terms of skill set, correct, people. Especially in OT. In IT, still you find many resources, whether it's a SOC part or the network security part or the GRC part. But when it comes to OT, OT GRC, OT SOC, OT solution architecture, these are very niche profile, correct? And the people who understand IT and OT both are very difficult to find. First thing, and second, if you cannot have the in-house capability to manage that particular platform which you deploy with some high value, then there is no use of your resilience part. So rather than investing more on tools, you need to invest more on building the capability, which can compound you within next 3 to 5 years, and help you to secure your company, help you to secure your organization with the help of minimal use of that particular tool itself, rather than going with flashy AI platforms and all. Building a team who is strong at the core and can help you to fight back in case of any incident or any ransomware attack pops up.
You spoke about AI, and then you talk about also the getting the capability up of those people. There's a lot of pressure in the market wherein we have to always keep on decreasing our cost of operations, right? With AI, with modernization coming up, we are, although we are looking at skill upgrade, but at the same time, we are also letting go our large workforce, and we are also consolidating and having a leaner. In that case, how do I balance between my AI ambition and the manpower or the capability in-house? How do I balance that?
See, that is the dilemma of many companies right now. See, AI is going to be stay, whether we like it or not, correct? And it is slowly cascading to OT world as well. And everyone with the help of AI, they think that we can cut X amount of workforce and we can hire bots and maybe agents that can do the work. But at the same time, we are yet not reached the maturity of that particular AI yet, as on date, correct? Specifically in IT also, we may reach within next 2 to 3 years down the line, but for OT, we haven't had this kind of, understanding, because OT is completely different scenarios. Secondly, obviously you can go there with that aspect that if I build AI next 3 to 5 years down the line, I can cut X amount of workforces. If your AI model is succeed, correct? The current market condition, the AI security platform, because we also read many information that AI threat modeling, AI poisoning, AI gives you the partial data, biased data. So this kind of problem will going to be stay. And we need a workforce who can deal with this kind of problem, correct? We cannot rely AI completely. There is some sort of human touch will be needed. Obviously, we can streamline our workforces, but down the line, I still believe personally that AI will not going to replace the workforce, rather than, it is organize you in much more better way that we not used to as on date. But it is going to be stay with both, the combination of both. Maybe we can, streamline some of the work and we can add more tasks to the individual with the help of AI. But for me, we need to balance for both AI and the workforce as well.
Great. I think the balance is the right word here. So thank you, Milind. Thanks a lot. And the audience, we covered about the present landscape. We covered about how these impacts our businesses, investment priorities, operational response, future risk. We also spoke about getting our capability up. So let's open the floor for maybe 1 or 2 questions, if anybody has any questions.
Hello. So we talk about, because in the OT we are believing in the air gap, and considering the recent AI boom, the cloud apps, so how are we going to match both, and how are you going to secure our assets? Because this is going to be a concern for in the future as well.
See, we used to work in an air gap in the past also, and right now air gap is completely myth. But the best part is that, if you want to stay ahead with the competition, you need to, at the end of the day, you need to integrate your plant with your IT team, or maybe, you need to do some kind of digital data analytics and all things, correct? So the best approach would be, you need to follow the defensive data architecture, right? I said before also. maybe your plant is having the flat architecture. What you can do, you can either, first thing is that you need to upgrade your network if it is not there. Like, maybe the legacy switches that we have, which is the unmanaged switches, which share the same broadcast domain as IT. I'm sorry, I'm using too much technical words, but in simple language, we need to apply defense in depth architecture for securing the OT. First thing, when you do that, the next part will be either you can implement, some firewall or the data diode platform to connect with the IT part. So if as a from the personal experience, I can say that we can share the data from OT to IT, but IT to OT should be prohibited. This is the only, if I can give, because if you want to leverage the platform of digital twin, digitalization, MES, the only requirement is that the data should be sent from OT to IT. I don't see that, we require to send the same data from IT to only for the patching part, which is okay. But if you want to share the data from OT to IT, use this approach only. Single way of communication.
Okay, one last question. Yeah.
With the advent of AI, what would be the future org structure of the OT?
See, it is going to be booming, I'm sure. So, see, basically what happened, if in terms of cybersecurity, I'm calling whether it's IT or OT, if you use more AI, it will bring you more opportunity in terms of the security part, correct? First thing is that every company wants to use AI, but they want to use AI in secure manner. If I give you an example, if you're using Copilot or ChatGPT, and if you publish your company data to the ChatGPT and you upload some sensitive information, that will go into the public information, correct? So first thing is that you need to secure your AI. Second thing is the regulatory requirement. Every regulator will come after you with new AI framework. So there is ample opportunity for the GRC point of view. The third thing is that the skill set as well, because every now and then, since IT is quite saturated, many people wanted to move from IT to OT as well, correct? So this will, help. AI will be the, mode of transition from IT to OT as well. Maybe people start taking some more interest in terms of OT world. So I think AI will give you more opportunity in terms of this cybersecurity going forward, whether you are OEM or you are the customer or you are the service integrator. This will give you more business opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. Milind, thank you for sharing your insights and experience with us today. One takeaway that I'm taking from this conversation is, I think the organization with the most sophisticated security tools they are going to sustain, right? Along with that, we also have to get our people and also have our resilience program covering our suppliers and also protecting ourselves with insurance also. So thank you. Thanks a lot. And have rest of the summit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have a huge round of applause for our panelists and our moderator, requesting both of you to please pose for a photograph.